Oh, yo, kill this stupid ass music. No offense to anyone who likes chill step. It is great for copyright free music, but terrible for everything else in life. All right, I think we're ready. You ready?
Yep, ready.
All right. Welcome to episode 267 of The Center Ring, presented by Alt. And this is going to be the best episode ever because it is Championship Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. It comes across every once in a while when the planets align. We get a glorious Sunday of a jam-packed championship session. We have the Call of Duty League wrapped up their season 1, so we'll talk about that and all the excitement from there. We have 2 Valorant tournaments that finished. We have, LCS, LEC updates for you, and I'm missing one. What happened? Oh, Cologne. We'll talk about it. You know, it went exactly, I think, as we thought. So we'll talk some ESL Cologne as well. So a lot of champions to get to, but first, you need to know about the show sponsor in Alt Esports. They are the #1 apparel company out there that esports has to offer. They make the comfiest clothes. My closet is full of them. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Tim, you guys always talk about, other guys being sponsored by very expensive things and they talk it up. Well, it's because no. We don't get handouts here, okay? My closet is full of paid Alt merchandise because I love the clothes so much. I'm okay spending money on them, even though I could probably get them for free. I just love Alt so much. I can't wait. I don't want to ask. I don't want to wait for all these, jumping through hoops to get a free shirt. No, you take my money because they're well priced and you give me the product because that's how I roll. I'm a man of the people. I buy money. I'm just like one of you. My money will buy their shirts just like your money will buy their shirts. You can also, the temperature is getting a little cooler out there. So you can also pick up some hoodies, a 101 Burglars hoodie still in stock. That is TCR's very own 101 Burglars hoodie. So you can get yourself one of those as well. And we also have some more things dropping here momentarily. So you can keep an eye, altesports.com.
Hey, this is Ian Crim6 Porter, and you're listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, presented by Alt. Yes, this is going to be the best episode ever, as it is episode 267, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, August 30th, 2020. Last episode of Positivity Month. And the time is 8:42 p.m. What a day it was. What a day. Championship Sunday. They don't come around too often, but when they do, they're glorious. Can't wait to discuss. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring if you're not doing so already. And if you have an iTunes or an Apple account, why don't you just mosey on over to our podcast in the podcast app or whatever it is on an iPhone. I don't own one. And leave ourselves a review. It helps. We enjoy reading them. Anything, if you listen and you can leave a review on whatever preferred app you want, leave a review. We do enjoy reading them. You can also slide into our DMs. They're always open at The Center Ring. And you can join our Discord. If you did, and if you were in our Discord, you would know that we had a watching party today for the Call of Duty Champs finals. So Anuj and I were in there with a handful of listeners and talked about whatever, life, esports. It wasn't just COD. So you could have asked us anything. It was good times were had by all. So go ahead and join that Discord so you don't miss out at the next watch party. With that being said, my name is Tim. Hello. I will be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, my friend who will search every website on the internet just to find the maps that were played in the Call of Duty finals. It's Anuj.
Timmy, what a weekend. Man, this was like a full day of esports. I mean, really, even yesterday was a lot. It was awesome.
Yeah. Look,
Another.
what do I have?
We need to be asking for a sponsorship at this point.
Championship Sunday. There's only one drink for Championship Sunday, and that's balls.
Maybe
Balls in my mouth.
All of Dallas was drinking that, it looks like.
Oh, man, what a day. It was one of those days where I knew I was going to be busy because it was just finals after finals after finals after finals. So I looked at my wife yesterday and I was like, babe, I'm going to lock myself in my office. You're not going to see me very often. And it's going to be one of those things. It's just one of those days you're going to have to figure out to do something with this child. So thankfully, my parents moved back to Texas a couple weeks ago, so they were able to help out. But it was one of those, you just couldn't afford it. You couldn't afford to look away.
No, I mean, between Call of Duty, obviously, just being glued to it the whole time. You know, we even had some fun Valorant today and Counter-Strike wrapping up this morning. So there really wasn't any time to, like, it felt like you feel like take a break. It was just all continuous throughout the day.
Yep. And then you even had some ESL, the North American side was last night. So that even kind of kicked off Championship Sunday. Just a lot going on. A lot going on. But that doesn't mean there weren't some yikes. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into the show. We'll do some yikes, and then we have a lot to get to. Why don't we start with your yikes? Because this, I think, carried over from last week.
Yeah, it's just one of those. You read it makes you cringe a little bit inside. News comes out that Perfect World, the Counter-Strike game in Asia, they have their own publisher or whatever you want to call it, their own version of the game. Tim, it comes out that they are releasing 128 tick CSGO servers for the Asian market. That's going to be almost like a built-in ESEA Faceit kind of client into the game for that player base. And I mean, I don't know about sizes, like, you know, I don't know geography that well, but like looking at the map, Asia's pretty big. You know, it's like it looks pretty big on the map.
Asia's
and
big.
The issue here was
but
like,
now keep in mind there's like 30 people that play Counter-Strike there.
okay, there's at least about that many. Yeah, like at least that many.
If you ever
Still,
wanted to go
either
pro in
way,
Counter-Strike, move to Asia.
It's just the fact that it's like it seems like it's such a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's something that the community's been asking for so long, and it's never happened. And you get different excuses. Sometimes you don't even get responses, but then you see it like happening over there, and you know it can be done over here. Again, we talked about this other day. I'm waiting for Valorant to blow up, so Counter-Strike is forced to do some stuff for the US market, EU market. Like,
I'm sure there's some technical reason on why it's more difficult here. Like, obviously, the player base here is much larger than in Asia. I get that. But this still feels like a slap in the face. Like, it really, like, for Valve to not even comment on it, like, bro. Like, my grandfather didn't fight in a world war. He didn't, you know, liberate the Jews and the captured people from the Nazis for Asia to get 128 tick servers first.
Like, not first, man. That's
not how
like
it
they
works.
used to say it was because
That's not
like,
how it
some of
works
the-
here in the land of the free.
They used to say it was because like the rigs over here, like people would have a tough time if you didn't have a high-end PC. Look, Counter-Strike can run on any damn computer at this point. If you're running on a computer that has trouble running
People in
Counter-Strike,
Asia just have baller PCs, like all of them.
like, all
Like,
of them.
What's going on? What excuse is that? I used to be able to play Counter-Strike on my PCs at school. Those were the days.
Seriously,
1.6.
yeah.
I install them in computer class, and as the teacher comes by, you alt tab real quick.
Real quick's a statement.
You kind of had to predict.
You better see them coming from like at least 20 steps away.
Best LAN
alt
parties
tab in
though
time.
were back in the school when you weren't supposed to be playing.
Really were.
No, that's definitely a slap in the face. It's a little punch in the gut. Like I said, I'm sure there's a listener like yelling at their headphones right now saying like, you don't understand though, it's this server. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure there's something we're missing because I don't see why it's not possible.
It's 2020. It's possible. It's possible.
I
don't buy that. There's like they just don't want to do it. Like they're saving it for a time where it will create good hype and it'll be worth doing. And I just don't think they think that's right now.
No, and I understand too because some people are like, well, the custom servers. Hey, custom servers can be low, but you can also have high. Like
Most custom servers are 128.
I had a 128 tick server. When we had like TCR used to have a Counter-Strike server and it was 128 tick. So
no, most custom servers are that you go search it. Like when you go search through the custom lobby,
you know
list,
why?
most
Because
of them are.
they don't cost like anything more to do 100. It's like nothing in the grand scheme of things. So
it's like 75 cents a month more.
Yeah, like it's nothing. So man, we might have to get the TCR server back up and running. We did.
It was fun just to mess around with.
Yeah, we did it when we actually like had time to compete in little weekend tournaments and DreamHack and all that. But those were a lifetime ago without kids. My yikes of the week comes from the world of PUBG Mobile, which it blows my mind that this is like at a high enough level because we did see, and maybe was it last week? Was it where it was like they announced like 2 or 3 pro teams in the PUBG Mobile world were all banned for hacking, like high level. Now, not orgs that we would know, right? But like Asian, Indian based orgs, like that were professionals, quote unquote, in PUBG Mobile, all banned. So there's that. Like
what did you use, like an aimbot or what?
Yeah, I guess, or walls and things like that. Right?
On mobile. That's interesting. Didn't even think that.
I mean, at this point,
there's always a way, right?
The phone is just as much of a little computer, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what the yikes is. This comes from a Vietnamese team, Box Gaming. Now, I don't know if this was in a match. I don't think it was. I just think this guy was streaming. But obviously, they have a team house. So one of the pros, Pame is how I'm going to say his name, was streaming in a yelling argument with the team captain, okay? And there's videos of this. You can go see this. One thing led to another. This team captain whooped this guy's ass. Like, I'm talking not just like a gamer slap, but like 2 solid punches right to the face.
Yeah, 2 haymakers live on stream. And it came out of nowhere. You just saw him walk up on the side and wail him twice. And it was like,
now, I'll give Pame this. It really didn't seem to break his concentration a whole lot during the game. Like, he obviously got upset, but it looked like he was still ready to go. Like, that's a true game.
I'm surprised he didn't get back up and swing back at that point. Like that's a BS move right there. For anybody.
When I was younger, I was always known for never quitting a game. Like, you could not break my concentration when I was playing. So we're sitting there, a bunch of friends are over, we're having a Halo LAN party. My older brother, who Anuj, thought it would be funny if he takes shaving cream and like put it all in my hair, because they knew like I don't care. The headshots are always more important. So he did that. I finished the game. Top fragged, probably. I don't remember, but that's pretty much the norm. Afterwards, I got up. I took the shaving cream that he put all in my hair, because I had long, luscious hair, and I slapped him in the face with it. And then we got into like a fist fight. But
that would have been good to see.
Older brother can't really take a joke back then. Now he's okay. Back then, not so much. But yeah, no, that's just incredible. And the worst part about this guy, the team captain, he wasn't even kicked off the team. He was relieved of his captain duties as he like reflects on what he's done.
Has to go to that freakazoid like school of bowling.
These PUBG Mobile guys, dude, they are nuts. Like, take a step back, realize you're playing PUBG Mobile, and chill. Like,
Just be happy you have a job in that industry, okay?
like, yeah, realize that, you know, the only people playing it are either hackers or the 3 other pro teams. And move on. But there's that. There's some yikes for you. Let's get on to Championship Sunday. Would you like to start, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the least interesting event of the weekend, and that is ESL 1 Cologne.
Yeah, I mean, least interesting in sense of champs is champs. You know, we got
Well,
to give it a
you did have, yes, the Call of Duty Super Bowl, right? Champs is on another level. But even then, like ESL 1 Cologne, that's a big deal. Normally.
It is. You know, such a big difference in the sense like we talked about before. Champs has all the teams competing against each other.
Yeah.
Right? So you really walk out feeling with one true winner. The way Cologne being done this year, split up into 4 regions, it takes away from some of the mystique that's associated with it. With that being said, yeah, I mean it was still an overall exciting finish to ESL 1 weekend, right? And maybe we just start off with the most exciting, and that would be Europe. Heroic coming out on top. Like you could have asked me 100 times, break down the playoffs for me and give me as many winners as you can. Give me 10 picks, and you make 10 brackets for me like you do for March Madness. This is never the finish I would have came up with. In all 10 brackets, this never would have been it. And for Heroic, maybe it's time we start giving them a little bit of due because they've been playing well. To 3-0 sweep Vitality in the finals is no joke. I mean, a 3-0 anywhere is, I mean, you whoop somebody's ass that day, right? Like this is like the PUBG Mobile pros just wailing on his teammates is what it seemed like here. But yeah, I mean, Casper has found Acadian has found a way to carry this team. I mean, obviously they have a lot of great players on it, but what fantastic Counter-Strike. You know, this is like still this shows kind of the depth of that league. We sat there and touted all these other teams this week, and not once did we mention Heroic as the potential winner. And they made it look easy, Tim. Like they didn't seem to struggle too much throughout the playoffs.
They dropped one map all playoffs, and that was to G2 in the semis, where they lost to him on Nuke in overtime. So even the one map they lost, they took it to overtime. The map before that, it went into a triple overtime with G2 on Vertigo. And then even in the finals, they weren't even like all things considered, not even a close 3-0. The closest one was 16-13 on Inferno, but then Mirage 16-7, Nuke 16-9. They didn't have the easiest path to get there in the sense of playoffs. You had G2, which what G2 are you getting? We always say that. Like people say they're a top talent in CS, and I would I guess tend to agree, but they can also, I mean, G2 can also be one of the most.
They go on their runs, right? But they definitely have like a roller coaster type setup. Or some tournaments they go in and they look like one of the best teams in the world, and then they drop out in group stage the next event.
Yeah,
but it's still a tough team to beat. Like that's not an easy out for Heroic at all. G2 had been playing really well. Like Kenny was not one of the stars on the team this event, and they looked really good still. And so to even 2-1 them, you know, had Heroic lost in the finals, we still would have been like, man, that was a heroic effort by Heroic, like to even get that far. But you're right, in the finals, they didn't seem to struggle. You know, like it was a pretty easy 3-0. That last map on Nuke, they were up 15-7, I think, at one point. So you knew like that was done, you know, pretty relatively early on into that game. But yeah, they are led by a guy who, you know, and I talk about Cadian because he, you know, he made one of these videos probably about a year ago here in the US when his team was kind of imploding, and I forgot the situation. They were trying to get picked up by, I think it was the whole Fun Plus Phoenix situation and all that stuff that went on. And he was really like kind of dumped to the side at that point. And he found a home here in Heroic. They gave him the ability to go in there in IGL, and like this team hasn't like looked back.
I remember that. So that's when like Fun Plus Phoenix dropped him and he did like that video of him walking down the street, right? Didn't we
Yeah,
kind of poke
yeah.
fun at it? Like,
Yeah.
he's like walking down the street and saying like, this might be it. Like this, I don't have a whole lot of places to go. Like this might be it and I need something. So I do remember that. Okay, well, positivity month. That's a feel good story.
It is. It is. No, that is for Vitality's side. This has got to be pretty disappointing, right? Because you got to
Yeah.
avoid
Listen,
Astralis on your run here, right? Like Astralis got knocked out early by Nip, which that was surprising as hell, and it wasn't because of the rookies on that team. You know, I think S Tag looked incredible. Bubsky struggled in one of the maps, but you know looked good overall. Vitality kind of had that road though. This was like their event to kind of get them rolling again, right? Because we've even seen Vitality struggle in some of the online play. So this was supposed to be that trophy, you know, for Shocks and these guys. But to go out 3-0, I mean, I can't imagine the disappointment in that locker room per se, and in how those guys feel, because this was really an opportunity missed for them.
and I feel like we could almost skip this conversation about Vitality, go back in an old episode, cut that audio, and just replay it. Because I swear, Nuge, we have had this same conversation with Vitality where it's like, you're always a bridesmaid, never the bride, because you're always playing these teams that just, you know, are better than you in the finals, right? That you'll lose to Astralis, you'll lose to Na'Vi. Hey, those are good teams, right? Nothing to cry about losing to. Vitality is a younger squad, and you know they'll get up with Zywoo and things like that. Don't worry, they're just finding their footing. But then in tournaments like this, where you're up against Heroic, and like we said, maybe this is the turning point for Heroic, right? Maybe they do prove to be a better team. But right now, getting 3-0'd by Heroic, like you said, show me one bracket that would have had that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like Vitality still has the veteran leadership, and that's what I thought would carry them through, you know, these types of matches, right? Having Shocks, RPK, Apex, like these guys have been around the block, you know? And so, you know, even Zywoo now is not a rookie anymore, right? You don't look at him like a rookie.
That's what I'm saying. Before, like that was always the get out of jail free card was, they're, you know, Zywoo's their MVP, but he's also young. He's a rookie. He'll figure it out.
It's like now expectations are to win these types of events, especially like when this one kind of got laid out the way it did in the playoffs. And so, yeah, overall disappointing for Vitality. You know, still some pride in getting second. Like that's not bad in Cologne to be one game away essentially. But for Heroic, this is a monumental win. Like for that organization, for that team. This is something that you don't forget. You put this on the board, right? Like this is the biggest win for their Counter-Strike organization to date. So, you know, great for them. I thought the EU side was pretty exciting as a whole. Like again, I think the disappointment for me in the quarters was probably Astralis, because I had them going pretty far, and I thought that they maybe, you know, found the wind at their sail there, and they were going to kind of coast through a little bit, right? Like the Vitality matchup was supposed to be the big one, but they had 2-0'd them earlier. But for Astralis to go out that early, you know, disappointing. OG, not surprising. Like we would have liked to see them advance further, but to lose to G2 is not the biggest shocker there. And now Complexity's loss doesn't look that bad anymore, right? Like losing to Heroic in the first round, well, you just lost to the champ. So fun event though. I enjoyed the EU side, just a lot different than I thought it would go.
And then on the flip side, you had the NA side, which pretty much went exactly how we all thought it would go, with Evil Geniuses and Liquid, who met up in the finals. Also, that a very close match. EG ended up winning 3-2, though, when it was all said and done, with some pretty, close maps and everything involved there. But I think just at the end of the day, I know Liquid was really beating themselves up on Twitter after this. Like, Stewie was kind of hard on himself, and I know Leech came and kind of was like, look, dude, like, we're good. Like, just, we'll get through it. But I will say, I think we kind of gave Liquid a lot of leash going into this, right? Like if I recall, like we were like, hey, newer roster, we'll see how you do, but Cologne's a tough one to come in with a new roster. Like I remember saying that. And I would say if you're a Liquid fan, you're feeling good, right? Like, yeah, it sucks to lose, but I think as a Liquid fan, you feel good about the results.
Yeah, because Grim didn't look bad at all, right? Stewie had an overall minus 30 performance, so he was really just down on himself, and expectations are just so high for him. Yeah, you feel good. You do feel like you let it slip though, right? Like you could have taken Nuke. You were up like 12-6 at one point on Nuke, and that was the first map, and you let that slip in overtime. And then even on Dust 2 on the final map, once again, you had a pretty decent lead. I think you were up, what was it? I mean, they lost the last 7 rounds of Dust 2. And they lost that 16-12. So they were also in a good position there and let a couple of 1v2 slip out. The Tarek one really comes to mind when he was in a 1v2 situation at I think 12-12 or something like that. But a tough loss because they should have won this. That is the positive note here, though, for Liquid is, hey, look, we brought a new guy onto the roster, and we really should have won this series. Like, we let this series slip out 2 different times, with Nuke and Dust too. So they're beating themselves up because I know they were close. And look, that's a good sign. We didn't know what this roster was going to look like without somebody like Nitro, who's been there for 5 years, right? Like we didn't know what the new lineup, how they were going to adjust. I thought Grim looked really good. Like I really did. There were so many moments where he came up with clutch kills, even if he wasn't necessarily top fragging. So many 2 and 3 Ks from him in crucial rounds, and he played pretty composed, I thought. So that's a good sign. You got a new coach with Moses in there. This is a tough loss, but something you can build off of for sure.
Anything else of note on the NA side that we didn't talk about in previous shows? You had Furia, Evil Geniuses beat them 2-0. Liquid ended up beating Chaos 2-0. I don't know how much Chaos has left in the tank when we see Steel playing Valorant on stream, which I know people are like, well, that's not a big deal, right? I don't trust anyone playing Valorant on stream at this point. If you see a CS player,
a little nervous.
If you see a CS player playing Valorant on stream, you just might as well kiss him goodbye.
Just sign it. It's done. It's done.
Just sign the contract.
It didn't
going
help
to
that
Valorant.
Steel was playing with Nitro, the guy that's looking for 3 more players right now.
Who's looking for players? It's done. It's done. Steel is going to 100 Thieves. 100%. I'm confirming it right now. Consider me a source, Decay.
Yeah,
because he's going
sources.
to.
It's happening.
He's going to 100 Thieves. He's going to 100.
No, yeah. I mean, NA turned out the way we thought it would. I do think we got a better series. One thing I do want to say, Tim, F best of 5s. Okay, this is brutally long. Like this series, I think was like what 7-8 hours of total time from start to finish. I mean, it was insane how long this matchup was going for. I started watching it before I had lunch, and I finished it after I had dinner. That's a problem, Like, hey, look, I love me some Counter-Strike. Baseball has the same issue to a lot of people of a game just taking too long to hold attention spans, especially like when you're not at the event. If you're at the event, I pray for you. Okay, I pray for you that you have to sit there for 8 hours.
We've been there. We have been at those events. It is miserable. You are not having fun by the end. You're
just like you want the winner to just happen.
Yes. The only reason you're there is because you paid for it at that point. And you're like, I've been here for 7 hours. Might as well stay for 8.
Thankfully we've been to enough of these to where now if it's a best of 5, we show up 3-4 hours after start time.
Yep.
And just chance it that it's not a 3-0 at that point. But yeah, I mean, these need to be best of 3s. Like this just needs to be a best of 3. Call it a day. Like that's 4 or 5 hours of Counter-Strike at that point if they're long matchups, and if it's a 2-0, well, don't suck. Okay, like don't get 2-0. That's my advice for you. But 5 maps, way too long. That would be my only knock on it. Look, like I said, I love it. I love the Counter Strike. It's just too much. You shouldn't be sitting there for 7-8 hours to watch a finals matchup. Like it's insane to me. Three hours. Give me 3-4 hours of good entertainment. I don't need 8 hours of it. Like it's just too much to try and watch the whole thing. That was for one freaking series. One series was 8 hours. That's insane.
I think of
So
like from a pro's perspective, right?
it's a
Like,
battle of endurance by the end of the match. It's not a like I don't even think we're getting probably the best Counter Strike we could be getting by that 5th game because these guys have to be so mentally exhausted at that point. That's not what I want to see. I want to see these guys executing at the highest level possible in these matchups.
and people wonder why Astralis has 7 guys, right? And this would be the perfect example. Throw a sub in there on a middle map, let your guys kind of regroup, refresh, and
Throw 'em
then
on
get
one of
back
the
into
opposing
it.
team's picks and just like a map that you hate, swap out 2 guys, give somebody 2 hours of break. I mean, like, geez. I mean, again, I sound like I'm a Nancy about this, but really, I felt like this was way too long. These games, you know, shit. One of them went into overtime, and it was the first one. So I was like, oh god, here we go. Like this is just the start. So yeah, but by the 3rd map, I feel like we could have laid this. It would have been the same winner. Evil Geniuses would have won
Yeah.
after map 3, just like they won after map 5. So
Yep.
let's find a way to cut this down.
Just a shout out for the other teams because there were other divisions. Oceanic Renegades ended up winning that, and the Asian, I believe, Tyloo. Yes, Tyloo ended up winning the Asian. So again, I don't know what type of trophy you want to give them. I don't know if you want to say you are an ESL 1 Cologne champion. I don't know if there's going to be an asterisk that says Asian division, but I guess now if Tyloo is ever in a bar and wants to pick up a chick, those players can be like, hey, you know, I won a ESL Cologne 1 year. And technically, they would be correct.
They should like
they're not
they
lying.
should make multiple trophies, but like change the size based on the relevance, right? Like EU should get the main trophy, the big one. NA should get one that's about like 6 to 12 inches shorter. Asia
Oceanic,
take off another 3, and then Oceanic really just give them like a miniature one, but hey, you participated, congratulations.
Yeah. So either way, ESL 1 Cologne, it's done. Who knows? I don't even. What's the next big tournament coming up for Counter Strike? I take Counter Strike on a day by day basis with this online play.
I mean, each week it's
Day by day basis. I'm waiting for it to get back on land so we can start having real, meaningful tournaments. But
so we do have
now.
Pro League kicking off September 1st. So
Okay.
ESL Pro League, NAEU will be kicking off. Really, the next big event is not coming for some time.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
October we have IEM. So October 6th will be IEM New York. So a whole month from now.
All right. So we'll see what happens there. Let's get on to champs, though. This is, I think, where the highlight of Championship Sunday was the Call of Duty League Championship. As Anuj said, this is really, CDL has been the beacon of hope and light in the esports world since Corona hit, because say what you want. I understand the league has not been perfect. I understand people have been hit with DDoS attacks and events, and that hasn't been handled well. I understand the game isn't that great at all. I uninstalled it months ago, right? So I get that. I hear you. But that doesn't take away that this has really been the best source of entertainment. If you're just looking at, you want the whole package when it comes to an esporting event, CDL delivered that, I think, especially when it came to their championship and their playoffs. So hats off to them, right? Say what you want. But this really turned out to be, I think, the highlight of COVID esports thus far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, it really was the total package. We had all the teams competing against one another, no regional differences there. The viewing experience was still exciting. I understand the players had their struggles, but that's, unfortunately something that they really only had to deal with. Like, I'm not noticing the lag as I'm watching and things of that sort, right? It was just pure entertainment for us. So yeah, CDL carried the torch during COVID, and it ended with a bang too. And maybe we just we're obviously just doing the final four here,
Yeah.
so that's all we'll be discussing. And to start off with Atlanta and Dallas this weekend, I mean, that series really kind of set the tone for what we were going to get in this final three showdown, I should say, right? With Dallas, Atlanta, and Chicago in the waiting. And that went the distance right off the bat. Like, Dallas took that first game, dropped the next two. I'm not going to lie, inside, I was a little nervous at that point with Dallas being down 2-1, and they managed to pull it out there, dropping FaZe into the lower bracket versus Chicago. But yeah, that really did set the tone. And that was one of those where I think Dallas really needed that victory because they had been so abysmal versus Atlanta throughout the year that was almost, it felt like the confidence boost they needed to carry them into the final game, right? Like, I think they may have struggled at that point had they had to go up against Chicago after losing to Atlanta the same day. Because remember, those games were played pretty much back to back, right? Like, later that afternoon was the second game. And I thought, had Dallas dropped that game, Chicago was playing good enough to potentially be able to beat them, especially with the demoralized team coming there. We talk about momentum all the time, and this was a big one. Like, this was a big one. I felt for Dallas to get that win. I had more confidence in FaZe beating Chicago than I did Dallas beating Chicago at that point.
Had Dallas lost, because I agree with you. I think
Dallas lost.
I think that the FaZe game, the first FaZe game for Dallas, was a huge confidence builder, especially. Sure. And I'd be curious, and we'll get someone from Dallas on the show here in the near future. I'm curious on who was that confidence builder for, right? Would it have been for the younger guys? Because sometimes young and dumb is true, right? Sometimes you're too much of a rookie to realize that, hey, they have our number, right? There is truth to that. Because then there's also on the opposite side where Clayster and Crims, they might realize the situation, right? So I wonder, by beating them, who was the confidence boost for? Was it for the young guys, or was it for the old vets to be like, we got this? So, but either way, they ended up pulling it off, making it to the finals, which, hats off to both of us, even though only one of us were right in our playoff predictions. At the start of the season, we did both say, I believe, we'll have to run the tape, but Dallas was going to win. Dallas, I think, was both of our favorites at the start of the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, again, we would have to probably go look at the tape if
Let's
I
just
know
say
we had them
right.
high.
Let's
I know
say
we had
we
them
were
high,
right.
but we're gonna go with we had them either way. It was impressive though in that first game, because that game 5, if you recall, that it was Ramaza that they played on. Dallas won that 6-3, but I think like FaZe had opening kills on like 7 or 8 out of the 9 maps that they played. And Dallas made some incredible comebacks along with some sloppy FaZe play that allowed them to take that game 5. And so that's also probably a good thing for Dallas to realize at that point, hey, we won that. But if FaZe had really played that game 5 properly, it seemed like FaZe should have won it. They had numbers in majority of the rounds. They even had numbers. I mean, I think that Illy and Clayster winning that 4v2 was such a clutch moment. In that search and destroy, Clayster hit a nasty wall bang on one of the rounds. That was probably one of the best wall bangs you'll see in Call of Duty, especially from a distance standpoint. Like, the guy wasn't even, it's not like he was on the other side of the wall. He was running up mid lane, and Clayster was posted up in back of A and hit a dirty wall bang. But you could see that Dallas put in their homework. Like, that's what I took out of that, is they were prepared for different scenarios. They were calm, especially again in that 4v2, but a hell of a way to start off the weekend for sure for champs.
And then you had Chicago playing in the losers final. I know there were a lot of people riding high on Chicago. Now, for listeners of the show, you know me. I will concede Chicago is a top 4 team in the league. But even going into playoffs, I had them below Florida. Now, obviously, ending results say otherwise, but that just tells you my confidence level in Chicago. I truly never thought Chicago stood a chance to make it to the finals, and if they were in the finals, no way were they going to stand a chance. FaZe and Dallas have been on a different level all season long. Chicago had its moments, but we've seen more inconsistency from them. And what happened? What did I always say? They always fail to keep their composure, and that's exactly what happened against FaZe in the loser finals.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with you that Dallas and Atlanta were playing at another level. Probably where I disagree is in the sense that I thought Chicago was playing good enough during champs to have a chance to win this event. Um, Not saying they would have, but I thought they had a legitimate chance. Not like, oh, they're kind of on the outside looking in. Like I thought they were playing good enough to win, especially coming after that huge win against Optic earlier. You know, they took the first map against Atlanta, which at that point I was starting to feel a little nervous for Atlanta. It goes into the search and destroy. That takes you to around 11 that Atlanta was able to scrape off. And really every map in this 3-1, it was a 3-1 Atlanta win. Every map was pretty close. I mean, the domination was about 20-point differential, but even the hard point came down to 11 seconds, you know, and that's how it finished off. And, you know, again, Chicago was always, it felt like one step behind, right? They couldn't get out of their own way throughout the year. But they played pretty well in this tournament, you know, like it was nice to see Scump and Arcides really stepping up.
This
Envoy,
is where my confidence was shook with Chicago. Is you are correct. They were playing out of their minds early on in the playoffs. But against guys like Chicago and who are the other ones when they got sent to the losers? Optic. You just said Optic. And that's exactly right. They had to play out of their minds to get past those guys. Now, albeit, New York has been a good team. They've been hot.
Optic got hot at the right time.
Yeah, Optic had an amazing playoff run for Optic, right? And it still required Chicago to play out of their minds and have season performances from some of their vets. So that's where it's like there's two sides of that coin, right? Like, yes, they were playing great, but when you have to play out of your mind to beat some of the guys they were beating, it was like, okay, I don't think that's going to work against the top dogs.
Like Optic really had to play their best Call of Duty in order to win this matchup, and that's hard to do consistently, and that's where they fell short ultimately, right? Is
Chicago.
They weren't Chicago. Sorry,
You did it.
Chicago,
You did it.
Whatever, same thing. Yeah,
Really,
they really had to be
Optic.
playing
They're the real
perfect Call of Duty to beat FaZe, and they weren't able to do that. We ultimately had the best two teams all year going head to head in the finals, right? Like there's no doubt about that. I don't think anybody would question that.
This is exactly what COD fans wanted.
Yeah, for the right reasons.
Fanboys aside, right? I understand if your team, you want your team in the final, but from a pure fan, like there was no heroic sneaking into the finals, right? This was exactly what we wanted all year long.
Did not live up to expectations, Tim.
No, it did not. So prior, you know, I always tweet out my picks on the Center Ring account. So at the Center Ring, if you're ever curious. And I knew it was a best of 9, right? So for whatever reason, they switched it up. For the longest time, CDL or CWL was always a double elimination with a bracket reset in the grand finals, if required. Well, for whatever reason, this time they switched it up to where Dallas, winner bracket, got a 1-map advantage in a best of 9.
Did you like that?
I don't care. It mathematically, we did the math. Me and listener Pete did the math. It's like 1 map difference. So if you did a best of 5 and then do a bracket reset and then play all of that, well, that's a best of 10, right? Well, this is a best of 9. So at the end of the day, if you do care, realize you're getting upset over 1 map. That is your complaint there. Now, I would also complain to you is that format didn't make a difference from Dallas going 5-1. So I don't think it would have mattered. It would not have made a difference. But to my point, I picked Dallas to win, so I did place some money on them, but I definitely picked Atlanta to cover because it was like amazing odds early in the day. Like it was like Atlanta was to cover 1.5 was minus 130, and at the start of the game, I think it went up to like 190. So like that made me instantly feel good. Like, ooh, the odd makers are making it less, and like I knew something that they didn't. And no,
No, they definitely knew.
the odd makers are. I swear, if the odd makers ever did podcasts on anything, it would make everyone look stupid because they
Like,
really
found
know.
out.
They really know their stuff there because I thought this was an easy money Dallas win, Atlanta cover, and man, Dallas put their foot on their throat and never let up. It was. I mean, it made Atlanta look bad for the first time. I think all year, Atlanta looked bad.
I think Atlanta shit their pants after that first map, honestly. Because the first map, being Azure Cave, was a map that Dallas had struggled on all year. They got smacked by Atlanta earlier in the year on this map. And that was like essentially their map pick, right? Like they had the opportunity to set them up to bring this back to a 1-1 series right off the bat, right? And to lose, not only lose, but it was a 250-170 finish there. Like they really got it handed to them on that map. And I think that they did not expect Dallas to be that prepared, especially for a map that Dallas just hasn't played a ton. And when they have, they've struggled. For them to come out and, really be on top of the rotations, they were breaking points constantly. Like every time Atlanta was set up to take a point, Dallas was able to break them 20 to 25 seconds in and really cap the back half of it. It set the tone. And I still thought there was a chance for Atlanta at that point to like find a way to pull it together, right? They've been great all year, couple of hiccups here and there, but for the most part, really consistent play out of this team. I never thought we would see them fall apart the way that we did. Granted, you got to give it to Dallas, right? Like the key players stepped up. I mean, and some that have been good players for the team ended up being the stars, throughout this event for them. Hook in particular really coming to mind, dropping 40 plus kills pretty much in the first map and never looking back. It was a train, dude. It was a freight train. They did not stop. You really thought this was going to be a 5-0. I know you were sweating your bet the moment map 3 was done. We're like, oh my gosh, like, this
I
doesn't look
said
like
in
it's
the
getting any better.
I said at the watch party, like I've never been more upset that my team was steamrolling. Like,
Yeah,
could you
I
guys
mean,
just let FaZe win a couple? Like, just let them get to 4 and then finish them off. Just let them cover the spread and finish them off.
definitely anticlimactic, right? Because even the first search and destroy 6-3, like we saw some cool plays. That's where I think we saw the first of 2 amazing ninja diffuses coming on Gunrunner S&D. And, they stole that map, and that was what, a little over halfway through the game. And it really kind of turned the tides, right? It gave that 2-point differential when they were really trading back and forth, back and forth.
And I think that's where you kind of knew Dallas was in their heads. Like, ninja diffusing is not easy with COD, right? It's not like Counter-Strike where you can kind of get away with it a little more. COD, I mean, people are buzzing around.
Yeah.
They are buzzing. So to sneak in and get a ninja diffuse, not once, but twice, I think that let them know, or let us know, like, okay, there's something up with FaZe. Like, their head is not in it. They're rattled at this point because if you're letting people get ninja diffuses on you in champs, like, you have 1.5 million on the line and you're not, like, you guys aren't keeping track of the bomb, like, that's rattled to me. That is, they're in your head living rent free.
And and then you just top it off heading into that. What was it? I think it was like the only good domination map of the whole
All
year
year.
took place in the finals, and at least we
All
had
year.
one of them. But even FaZe in that matchup had a 15-20 point lead going into about 3 minutes left, and they let that slide in the last 45 seconds to minute and a half, and let Dallas take the lead there. I mean, it's just defeating. I mean, you could just see it. The camera started to turn sideways, after these maps were over. They knew at that point. I mean, at that point, Dallas has a 4-0 lead. They're starting to get into maps that they're a lot more comfortable with. And you knew, like, FaZe could maybe take a map, maybe take two, but at that point, it's done. Like, the writing's on the wall right there. It's 4-0. A team is hot. Atlanta looks defeated. That's the only reason the bracket reset. I guess in this case, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, but had Atlanta been in the upper bracket, like, a reset could maybe help a team out in that situation, right? You're just getting spanked. You just, okay, let's
Stop the
just
bleeding
reset
a
this
little
and
bit and
but it wouldn't
regroup.
have mattered because Dallas was in the upper half of the bracket anyway, so this would have been over a lot quicker.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
I
I
mean-
said, I don't think it would have mattered because Dallas had their number. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just everyone was playing lights out. Afterwards, we were discussing about who we thought MVP was going to be. And like literally everyone at the watch party said a different name. Like it could have been anyone on Dallas to get the MVP. At the end, it was Crims who ended up getting MVP, which, like I said, rightfully so, I guess. It could have been Shotzi. It could have been Hook. It could have been anyone.
Shotzi was amazing in every game. Clayster coming up so clutch for them. Like, you're right. It really could have been one of 3 or 4 players for sure, easily. I know Crims in his interview said he was going to get one of those like water, those really like fast water cutter type things. Like it almost works like a laser.
Yeah.
By using water. He's going to cut the trophy in half. He said he's giving the other half to Clay.
Okay. And now I know this makes Clay, he has 3 rings now. For Crims, it makes 3
also.
Right? So now they join the likes of Karma being the only one with 3. So
yeah, I mean, they're in the conversation for the best ever, right? Like, Crim, I think probably has to be able to say that pretty comfortably.
Well, the rings were the only thing holding him back, right?
Yeah.
That was the only thing anyone could ever say about Crim was, well, you only have 2 rings. But now that he's got 3, I think you can safely say Crim 6 is the best COD player of all time.
And look at the span that he's done it in. Like, it's over a 6-year span. He's got these 3 titles, right? Like 2014, 2017, and now 2020. There's some gaps there, right? Like this guy's climbing back up to the top of the mountain every time. Obviously got the number of championships. Like he's been number 1 on that list for quite some time. To go along with 3 rings and now a finals MVP, whether you think it's deserving or not, it was awarded to him. He was good enough to get it. It's just there was maybe a debate on who could have got it, but he was good enough in this event to get it. And so, yeah, for him, it's a good day for the Envy group, right? Like you have 3 first-time winners, right? Illy, Huk, and Shotzi, 2 of them being true rookies in the scene. This is a team that's only going to get better, I feel. Like these guys now have a year of experience under their belt playing in a hyper competitive level.
Well, and
right?
talk about Shotzi. Like, how many guys in esports can say that they are 2-time world or they're a world champion in 2 different games? Not just 2 different Call of Duties, but Halo and now Call of Duty world champion. I don't think that's probably a short list that guys can say that on.
People were saying Formal, but Formal doesn't have a world championship in Halo. He's got some big wins in Halo, but then they were saying he didn't have a world championship in it. So really, who? Like I can't even think of somebody off the top of my head that could say that, especially at the age that he's done it at. Timmy turned 18 this year. He won his Halo world title at the age of 16. This kid is, the way we look at Simp.
You know what I was doing at the age of 16?
2 for 2.
I was losing in a Halo MLG free-for-all tournament in Frisco, Texas. That's what I was doing when I was 16.
And that probably seemed like the top of the world.
I mean, it really, I could still tell you exactly the kill that got me eliminated. Sticky grenade, top of going into carbine and midship. Some
you
dudes.
think there was a prize pool difference between his Halo world title and his champs one?
A little bit. Probably not a whole lot. I mean, I hear Halo's really paying out the big bucks. No, the prize pool breakdown, is absolutely insane. Let me actually pull it up here.
For Call of Duty?
Yeah, do you have it here there in front of you?
No, but it was like 1.5 for first and 900 for second, I believe.
Let's see. So here's the actual like full-on tournament earnings breakdown for these teams. All right. So you have leading the rear, Seattle and Gorillas, 10,000 each.
Wait,
What-
they got 0, I thought.
No. Year. For the year,
Oh,
what they've
okay.
earned. Right?
Okay.
Because they each got third, I think, once is what this is showing. Then
So 2,000 a pop. They can get a new NZXT PC.
yeah, you could get half a 30 series graphic card with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Then it quickly jumps up to the guys who went on in playoffs, because then you have Paris at 140,000 that is, Minnesota at 170, New York 255, Optic 360 for a team that bitched more than my 1-year-old, soon to be 1-year-old, 1 week away. Optic did more crying than him all year long, walk away with 360,000. So let that just marinate for a little bit. Then you have Florida walking away with 365,000. Kind of feel like there might be a little disappointed in that.
Well, yeah,
champs.
because where they got eliminated in champs only put them at a 175, and had they even finished top 6, that would have doubled that money.
Yeah.
Right. And so disappointing for sure.
So Ultra ends up being over them with 370,000. London 500,000. Clean 500,000. Chicago
50 from that last
760.
event helps.
Yeah. Yep. 760 for Chicago, and then the big boys, FaZe at 1,140,000, and Dallas at 1,720,000.
It's a good year of Call of Duty for these guys. As much
Not
as they all wanted
bad.
to bitch and hate about it, look, y'all had an opportunity to make a bank, right? Everybody dealt with problems, but winners are winners. People are going to fight through it. They're not going to bitch or complain. You're going to go get as much as you can. And Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, hell, even London, after talking to Wuskin, he was a pretty optimistic person, right? He didn't really beat up on the game throughout the year. These guys went and performed, all walking out with a good chunk of change.
Yes, not bad at all. As far as viewership goes, I think we can finally put to bed the YouTube drama behind this. How people were saying it was going to kill the league and all that, and I think we can put it to bed, Anuj. Because according to esports charts, the Call of Duty League Championship peaked. This is the mainstream plus co-partner streams. So just, official, I'm assuming that's including like the French and other languages, right? Peaked at 331,000 viewers, give or take.
Solid day right there.
Not bad for a YouTube stream. I will have to say that. Now, I'm sure you could probably make the argument, well, it'd be even more on Twitch. I would have to agree with you, but still, you're not gonna say no to 331,000. Also not bad considering they still have yet to do any amount of in-game advertising for this at all. At all. So, but hats off to, I think, Call of Duty League for being the inaugural season, for being what they had to deal with as far as COVID and what will probably go down in history as one of, if not the least favorite competitive CODs out there. They did well. And I will also say this, and I said this in the watch party. People need to learn to separate who they're getting pissed off at. Because some people are saying they miss CWL because this COD sucks. The Call of Duty League has nothing to do with the Call of Duty game that is currently out there. Absolutely nothing. They might know people that can help pull some strings, but the devs aren't going to the league and asking for patch notes and things like that. That's not how it works. So I think for what the Call of Duty League had to work with, I think they did a spectacular job for year one.
Yeah, shit on Infinity Ward. If you're gonna get mad at somebody, you get mad at Infinity Ward in this case for putting out a game that really just, again, had too many issues to even start listing. But the good news is, Tim, the good news, the
Positive
positivity
twist.
side, the positive twist. We are like a couple months away from a new Call of Duty, probably even less time away from an open beta. From the looks of it, the game looks back is going a little bit more back to its roots in terms of gun mechanics, play style. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. And with this being the first season of CDL, I promise you guys, it will get better next year. You learn from your mistakes. Infinity Ward's not the developer that, Treyarch is coming in. Treyarch's been great on the competitive side. Just hope for better days ahead, and I think we will get that. I think the league will be better next year. Hopefully, we're back on land next year. That's going to change people's attitudes towards it, right? With everyone being on the same latency and things of that sort, that eliminates 90% of the problems I feel like we had throughout the year. So, you might be disappointed with the way it ended. Well, right around the corner. This is not too far away from kicking back off again, getting a little bit of a restart, a little bit more experience under the belt, and hopefully a great game to follow.
Yep. So obviously, when more things come out about Black Ops Cold War, we'll obviously talk about that. We'll probably have some guests on, talk about their hopes, fears, and dreams for the upcoming title. But for, like I said, right now, I mean, it really did live up to the hype as a whole, right? Even though Dallas whooped up on FaZe in the finals, it was still entertaining to see what was supposed to be two juggernauts and one only showed up. So I was still, I think, if you're a fan, definitely was worth the season and all the ups and downs for sure. So there's that. Any last words for Call of Duty Modern Warfare? This is it. It's done.
It's done. I mean, like, I'm already excited for the next one. As crazy as that sounds, like, this gets me more amped. I got the juices flowing for Call of Duty. It almost makes me want to jump back in. I know that would be a bad move, so I'm not going to do that. But it does get me excited for the next one. I'm incredibly excited for this Dallas team to hopefully, I'm assuming they're all going to stay together. I don't see why they wouldn't. And I have no reason to believe they won't have a freaking fantastic chance to run it back and add another ring to some of these guys' hands. But yeah, great rookie year for a lot of guys, veteran leadership. Like, Dallas was a fantastic team all year. Same with FaZe. And we got what we wanted at the end, right? Like, we had the two best teams in the finals. It's really hard to complain.
Yeah. And I do agree. This almost made me want to go install the game again, but by the time the 900 gigs were finished, I would have realized, I don't really want to play.
I'll just wait for the next one.
I don't really want to play. Also, shout out to Activision for having in-game rewards for viewing on a game that literally has like a month and a half left of life. So
there'll be some people lurking around Warzone, I'm sure, for the next
maybe they should carry over to the next game. But either way, it was still fun. Speaking of fun, real quick, let's talk some Valorant on this championship Sunday, because we had not one but two Valorant tournaments finish off, as we had on the NA side PopFlash, on the EU side Clash 2. I don't have a whole lot to say on the EU side, so let's talk about that first. And I will start it off by asking you, Anuj, a question, because I know you pay attention to the EU side more than I do. I did watch a little bit of this tournament this weekend. And from what I can gather from my own professional eyeballs, is G2 is legit. They are really good at Valorant. What I also noticed, though, is the drop-off on EU seems a little bit steeper than NA. Like, Valorant might be looking good because the drop-off to what the second best team is in EU might be like the 8th best team in NA.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I really don't know if I like 100% agree with that. I think there is a little bit of a drop off from maybe like G2, but like Liquid placed 9th through 12th in this event. Now, does that mean Liquid all of a sudden is like a terrible team? No, I think that there's a lot of talent hidden within EU that we don't really know of. Like they're not as many of like look, all of NAT T2 Counter-Strike moved over. So we know all of the names, right? Like every team has a handful of familiar Fortnite dropouts, Overwatch League, like pros, and then tier 2 Counter-Strike. So we know all of NA Valorant. Like we really do. Overwatch League is not huge in EU, so it's not like we were going to have a ton of people from EU kind of moving over from Overwatch League. The tier 2 scene in EU is not really that big because they have 15 hyper competitive
Yeah, the
Counter-Strike
tier
teams
one
where
size is so much bigger.
it's
The
so
tier
much
two
bigger
is
that there's
smaller.
just a lot more talent in that space. But like teams like Fun Plus Phoenix, like Plus Phoenix has a lot of names that people are not going to be familiar with, but Angel One probably, being one. But like a guy like Zypan, watching him play makes me think of Tens, like watching him on his rays. I think he's incredibly talented. A team that showed up this week, Bonk, kind of came out of nowhere. I don't even know any of those guys, but guess what? They're 5 Swedish FPS players. Probably going to be pretty decent from what we've seen from the Swedes in general, right? I think there's just more that we have to learn about the EU side. A team like Inferno, this was their first event, but they have Draken and Lowell on the team, right? Two of the more familiar names. And so I think the talent in EU in NA is probably a lot closer than we think. There's just so much more familiarity with the NA side that we're going to tend to lean that way. Um, I want to just see them go head to head. Like, I really just want to see these clashes start with one another. But I'll tell you, there's already a lot of shit talking going on. We've seen it from, T1 Fraud on his stream, talking about how any EU team, wouldn't even be a top 5 team on the NA side. And then words started flowing from G2, G2 players talking about there's at least 2 trash players on every NA team that would be cut, and it's nice. I love it. I do.
We're
I love to
back.
see that happening. But I think it is a little bit closer than we think. And I think G2 could easily be the best out of all of them, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. But as these tournaments come on more, start to we'll start to watch them a little bit more, familiarize ourselves with some of these guys. I just think the talent's a little bit more hidden or unknown, I should say.
Right. Bonk, fun fact, is an actually orgless team. So
Not for long.
yeah, I was gonna say getting second place in your one of the first tournaments probably not a bad thing. So
Will now be known as Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I was thinking
Swedish
of.
team that plays second, they'll now be known as Fnatic.
Yep. So
already has a team.
we'll see them getting involved. On the NA side, though, you did have PopFlash, which had its own fair share of drama in and outside of the matches. Let's start with the matches first, though, Anuj, if you don't mind. First off, I think the thing that jumped out on everyone, I will say this. Can I give a shout out to friend of the show, Doa? Doa, if you're listening, I know we talked before the tournament and you were like, yeah, these are going to be long days. And I was like, yeah. Oh my God. These were long days of Valorant.
They know how to spread out a tournament, don't they?
You're like, oh, an 8-team tournament? That should be like 2 days. No, they know how to do it. They know how to stretch that one out. So I think the thing that jumped off the page right away was with TSM losing to Dignitas, which we've already talked to. I think we were able to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. The first game.
The first game.
Matchup.
Well, that kind of kicked the theory of, okay, what's happening here? Is Dignitas really that good? Is TSM dropping off? I think it's fair to say TSM just had an off tournament because Dignitas ended up getting knocked back down to earth pretty darn quick.
Yeah, I mean, Dignitas didn't win another series after that, losing to Cloud9, who's been playing well in all of these tournaments, and then having to play Sentinels in the first round of the playoffs doesn't help because Sentinels seem to be, head and shoulders above most of the teams out there right now, at least. But yeah, like TSM might have just found with NA, Tim, I feel like there's a lot more counterplay from like seeds 1 through 10 in NA. There's a lot of good teams right now,
Yeah.
right? Like there really are a lot of good teams that you can see most teams winning on any given day. And I think Sentinels is the one team that didn't show that kink in their armor yet, right? Like even when Sentinels has lost, it's generally been to TSM, like in the finals. But TSM got manhandled by Dignitas. Like they really weren't even close matchups. And so yeah, they maybe had an off day, but they really had off 2 days. It's not like the matches were the same day. Like they had time to re-prep for them. They had a game in between them, right? They 2-0 Genji in between playing Dignitas again, and still came out and lost 2-1 to them. So look, Dignitas is led by Def, who we know to be like a very good Counter-Strike player, a lot of top tier 1 experience. Som, who is God, like looking at his story, just incredible. Pro in Heroes of the Storm, played for the Dota 2 team that ended up winning the TI, but he left the team right before that season happened.
Yeah, they
right?
showed that highlight about a dozen times. You think he
Yeah.
appreciated that?
Yeah, like how many times are they gonna throw that at you? But like he's and then obviously his history in Fortnite is well documented.
Yeah.
But like they have some gamers, right? Is what I'm saying. Is they have some people that are veterans in competitive gaming, right? They're not new on the scene. So yeah, for TSM, disappointing weekend. I thought for teams like Cloud9, you know, it's nice to see more than just 10 stepping up. We saw a little bit of that. Now losing 2-0 to Envy is probably a little bit heartbreaking there.
Boy, but
Envy,
did 10 step up in a lot of these matches. Oh my God. It makes you wonder, like, how did this not work out in CS again? Like, how did he not work out on the Cloud9 roster for CS?
He's like an anime guy. Maybe just Valorant fits him better.
he just needs the anime to unlock his true potential.
He needed like that type of game to really let him loose, and he's incredible. Like he's really just incredible. I mean, once they get it going and these teams have more time to practice, Cloud9's a team to worry about. Like that's going to be your new favorite Cloud9.
I mean, it already is
part of their organization.
It already is, because you have guys who are like really starting to kind of stand out now as we're having more of these tournaments. Tens is one of them. Wardell on TSM, I think, is arguably the best Jet and Op player, or at least for NA side. We did see, like, with Sentinels, I mean, Shazam is stepping up. Sinatra, I still think, is surprising a lot of people in the sense of, I think a lot of people were rooting against him, and the fact that it's just not working out for him. Like,
he's the best player on that team. I think he's the best player on Sentinels.
I think it's really upsetting a lot of people that it's working out for Sinatra.
It's kind of upsetting me though, also as like a Counter-Strike lover, right? Like I didn't want to think these Overwatch boys could come in here and run the show. Sinatra is the best player on Sentinels, and I don't even know if it's like really that close. Like Sick is also right there. You know, Shazam has played really well, but Sinatra's character pool, his ability to use abilities, like watching him on Sova is incredible. I mean, he's just so good on him.
Now, you know what's funny? Is the thing you just said about his character pool and like brains to use his abilities and just timing is the same exact shit he did in Overwatch. His character pool was massive. He went from tank to DPS to tank to DPS. And like the way he used some of the characters in Overwatch was just on another level of thinking. And so it's very funny to see exactly that transition right over to another game. And so he can pick up right where he left off.
Oh, and by the way, he can aim.
Yes.
You know,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
like he's good on both ends of it. He did lead the team. You know, in the finals, it was an easy 3-0 for them. They really did not struggle with a 13-9, 13-7, and 13-8 finish. They never really looked like they were in jeopardy of losing any of those games. I don't feel. You know, for Envy, still a lot to be proud of. I feel like this was a great showing to make it to the finals.
Yeah.
Caboose is godly with his aim. You know, we've kind of known that he's a really good aimer, and it's translating well into this game. But yeah, I mean, Sentinels are just kind of above everybody. And I wasn't sure after the previous event when we saw TSM win it all, but like we've seen Sentinels do enough now, along with TSM's failure this weekend to, if we're doing a early power rankings, to have Sentinels at number one and feel pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think this weekend, like to me, it's still one of those things where it's just what team won last, right? Like if there was another tournament tomorrow and TSN ended up beating Sentinels, I think then you could just say, okay, well, I think TSM's better now. But like for a while, I think it's going to be like that. Right now, Sentinels seems to be a tad more consistent with it. I am a little bit more worried in the sense with TSM when it just comes to, I feel like that roster lives and dies by Drone and Wardell. Like I think that roster can have a little bit more exposure, if that makes sense. Like they have a little bit more things wrong with them at the moment. Not to say that it's a bad roster and they need to make changes, but I feel like that would come sooner with TSM than it would for Sentinels.
There's more carrying potential on Sentinels from all 5 players.
Yeah.
Right? Like all 5 of those guys were very active in the game that they were previously playing, whether that was Counter-Strike and Overwatch. The difference on TSM, and as you mentioned, is their top 3 players, I think, are quite obvious. Drone, Wardell, Sub Rosa. Hayes has played pretty good, but he was kind of inactive for a little while in the esports scene outside of just talking about it and pugging from time to time. And then Cutler's been, not really playing high level CS for quite some time, and he struggled in a lot of these matches as well. And so I just think that Sentinels have more like carrying potential. More guys can pop off and win a map for you. And you see that in the consistency of their kills, like from game to game. Usually their top fraggers sitting in the low to mid 20s and their bottom fraggers between 16 and 18. They're all kind of like chipping in. Where on TSM right now, we see a little bit more like, hey, Drone, we need you to pop off. Or Wardell, you really got to be the best guy in the server today, Sub Rosa, same thing. Like they need one of them to really be playing at a highlight reel level. I think to compete game in and game out. If 2 of them are behind, you see what happens. Like the outcome is what happened with Dignitas. Again, TSM's great. It's just I see a little bit more of a polish around Sentinels right now than I do TSM.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's very, very fair to say, especially after this weekend. I think that's really all I had for, the drama outside of the event. So this kind of kicked off with this, and it kind of leaked over into Call of Duty a little bit, but I did want to talk about it a little bit with you. We don't have to do a full conversation. But this came up because some of the players were complaining with PopFlash that it's double elimination tournament. So the standard format in a double elimination tournament is either A, the winner or the grand finals, you will either have bracket resets if need be, right? So if the loser wins, then it starts off to another match, and that's the true grand finals. Or what they did in Call of Duty, where the winning bracket team gets a map advantage. Now, I agree, if it's a best of 3, you can't do a map advantage because then they literally have to win 1 map, right? Like, that sounds silly. But I also realize that in a perfect world, you can't really have nothing. And that's where the complaint was with PopFlash, and some of the players were even vocal about it, and which then created kind of drama and tension within the scene for a little bit, because Monty, who's the commissioner of Flashpoint and everything, who does PopFlash, said, there will never be a time if I have to organize an event, winner brackets or a double elimination tournament will never have a winner bracket advantage. You will never have a bracket reset. You will never have a map advantage. Your reward for getting through winner bracket finals was you had to play less matches to get there. And I think that it rubbed a lot of people wrong.
And I disagree with that. Like, I really don't. There needs to be some advantage, or you can't do like the best of both worlds scenario here, right? Like you kind of got to pick your poison one way or the other. If you're going to do a double elimination bracket, there needs to be some advantage for clearing through the top bracket. You know why?
Yeah.
Because it's always been like that. Always. Like that's just how it is. If you want to avoid that, then you go to a single elimination style bracket, and that takes you away from having some sort of advantage towards the end. And I do think you need to pick one or the other. It can't be like, well, no, we want double elimination, but we don't want to give an advantage to the team that, guess what, did not lose a match the whole time until the finals. And so
I
I
think
just think
that
he's
hurts.
off.
At the end of the day, I feel like that kind of hurts competitive integrity, right? To where it's kind of like, if you're the winner, I have no, problem with a winner, in this case, Sentinels, right? Let's say Envy ended up winning and Sentinels were pissed because in their mind, well, hold up, Envy got a chance to lose against Cloud9. They got to lose and then get a second chance. Where is our second chance? And if your excuse to them is, well, you had to play one less match to get there. Like, to me, that sounds like a guy who's never competed in his life. That sounds like a guy who has never once thought of being the actual player in that scenario. And to say, well, you just had to play one less game. Do you not know how many
matters in games that require physical activity, in my opinion?
Yeah.
The playing one less game.
Do you know how many games these guys play a week? Like, you think
we're talking about an extra couple hours, right? That they could shave off somewhere else to keep their stamina up for that event, right? Like the whole they're more well rested going into this doesn't mean shit in esports. Like it just doesn't. Unless you host it like we've seen some Counter-Strike events where you have quarters, semis, and finals all in the same day. Okay, maybe in that scenario it could matter, right? You're not going to be as fatigued, but in this sort of scenario, yeah, if I was Sentinels and I had lost to Envy, I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed. As simple as that. They got a chance to lose and fight their way back in and give themselves a chance. Like
I feel like
they're
this
not getting the
is
same opportunity.
A chance for Monty to flex and have a little bit of a power trip. Like I that's the vibe I got. I got that he was kind of power tripping on Twitter a little bit because people from all levels of the scene were saying, I just don't think that's right. Like it's just not fair for the winner bracket to go through all that and win, and then now you're almost punishing them for winning.
He just wanted to let it be known that he was the one making the decisions for
That's
Flash.
Exactly. It sounded like he was power tripping because realistically, like you said, you can't have it both ways. Like just from a competitive integrity for me, I don't care if you do bracket reset or a map advantage, because a map advantage on a best 5, like that makes, that makes sense. I don't care. I love bracket resets just because I feel like there's no drama like a bracket reset. Like that's just, you want to max out views, have a bracket reset. That will get your views.
For Valorant, map advantage and a best of 5 makes perfect sense because there's only 4 maps. So you have 4 games remaining, 4 maps to play with a +1 advantage. Like it makes perfect sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
Again,
or you just go with logic, like how a major does it in CS or the World Cup does it, where you have group play to figure out your seeding, and then you go into a single elimination playoffs. And that's what you should have done. If you're not going to do that and you're going to do double elimination, don't be on the defense on why you, like, people are like, yo, why are you treating this like the winner's bracket is like single elimination?
Why are you the only tournament organizer doing it this way?
Yeah.
It's not because you're light years ahead of the group in terms of your thinking. It's because you're not doing it the way it should be done. Like there's a way it's supposed to be done. Yeah. And so this was his way of letting everybody know that I make the decisions. This is the way I want to do it. And that's fine. Like we at least, we know.
I mean, at the end of the day, what are we going to do
that way?
Right? If you're a player, what are you going to do? Not compete in the tournament?
Just know you're wrong.
Right. Like
but if that's what you want to do,
you're the boss man. Sure. You call the shots. You can do it that way. You could let the winner's bracket get 2 maps. It's your tournament. You can do whatever you want. But just know that to players and to anyone with a brain, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's it. So there's that. There is all the things for Championship Sunday. Quick update, though, for LCS and LEC, because the champions, I don't think the finals were this weekend, right? But there were
No, but we know the
movement.
3 teams like that are advancing right to Worlds because the top what for LEC top 4 qualify for Worlds, for LCS top 3 qualify for
Yeah.
Worlds. So we at least know, where we stand in that area, who the top 3 and who the top 4 are on both sides.
So for the LEC, the European side, we know. Do you have that in the?
Yeah,
there?
Fnatic ended up
I missed it.
beating G2
Okay.
3-2. A huge victory for Fnatic. Like this was, I know it's been like a long climb for them to get back to where they are. Can't tell you that I know the ins and out of everything, but I know it was a big victory for them. They're awaiting the winner of G2 and Rogue, who are playing in the losers finals there. But Fnatic have locked themselves a spot into Worlds, and along with G2 and Rogue, pretty exciting for them. Like I know that they've, like I said, they've had a long road back, and so to see them kind of get back to the top and have a chance to win the summer pool like that would be pretty awesome for them.
Disaster avoided for Rogue as they were able to beat Mad Lions. Well, it's not a disaster for Rogue, I guess. Rogue wouldn't carry either way. But had they lost to Mad Lions, they would say that they qualified for Worlds without winning a series. So they did beat them. So that storyline is gone. I know a lot of people on Twitter were making jokes and kind of upset of how the format worked. That's water under the bridge. Rogue ended up taking one. So I guess well-deserved. On the LCS side, though, Cloud9 has failed to qualify. They ended up losing to TSM 3-1. So now this is the first time in Cloud9's history in the LCS to not qualify for Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, you got Valorant.
Now, there is also, I'm sure, no correlation that this is the first time in history that I decided to pay attention to the LCS and Cloud9. I was like, you know what? Cloud9, their CS team sucks. Valorant wasn't really around. I guess I'll pay attention to League of Legends. I'll get something out of it. And now that doesn't work. So
I see one consistency here, Tim.
I think it's me. I'm now taking requests on who you want me to be a fanboy of, and they will be eliminated by next week. So
Double Lift went to Twitter to talk a lot of trash and got shitted on by everybody in his responses.
Did he really?
Had a terrible tournament. He got carried into that victory.
If you're Double Lift, why do you go on Twitter?
It's too easy right now for people.
Why?
But he has like a crazy story, right? The shit that he's been through in his life is like beyond what most people would ever care to experience in a lifetime. But yeah, like you're an easy target and you didn't carry your team. So like just let your game do the talking. Y'all got the win.
Yeah, just back away. It's so there's that. There's some League of Legends updates for you and everything there. Anything else for Championship Sunday? I think we covered everything. It was an exciting, like I said, exciting weekend for esports.
Was happy that like NA finished on Saturday and EU finished on Sunday for Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Having to do those at the same time would have been brutal. But yeah, it was definitely a fun weekend. I don't know when our next big weekend like this is going to be, honestly. Like, I can't tell you when our next big championship weekend is be. Call of Duty is gone for quite some time. Counter-Strike doesn't have anything big for a month or so. So enjoy it, guys, because this was a good one.
Yeah.
This is a rare one for what we're going through right now.
It's going to be a little bit till we see these types of events and tournaments going on. Let's get to some e-news. I will say one thing here real quick, and I will just say a shout out, a e-news shout out to esports in general, because one thing we didn't mention is that some of these tournaments like PopFlash and things like that were delayed a day because the players ended up deciding to let their voices be heard and take a day off. And I don't even know if you want to say protest or boycott. I don't know if those are necessarily the right words, but they wanted to use their platform and obviously for good reason. I will say this, and for those who don't know, because I guess not everyone here lives in the States and might not know everything going on with Black Lives Matter and police brutality and equal rights and things like that. The NBA and a lot of the mainstream sports ended up protesting and boycotting a day of sports or two in order to kind of make their voices heard and say things need to change. So then following that, they did it with Cologne, I know, did it. And so did
Chaos and Liquid,
Yep.
kind of started it off early.
Yep. Liquid and Chaos ended up announcing that they were postponing their game. Flashpoint or PopFlash ended up announcing it. And at the time, I was like, that seems a little silly. But not because of the motive, right? But because in my brain, I'm still thinking esports is separate from that stuff. But then I thought, not anymore. Like esports, I feel like has really matured to the point where, you know, these guys are popular enough. They have influenced enough young minds to where they do have a power in their voice, right? It's not just how we're not having a LAN party. We're not sitting all stinky in a, you know, Circuit City or Comp USA playing a tournament anymore, right? It's like there are eyeballs on esports, and I think it's kind of like esports grew up this weekend because of that. So
Like it looked a little bit more odd because ours is happening online, right? Where a lot of these other events are taking place in person, and it would have had more of an effect, you know, had we been in Cologne and they took that time off. But this was a way for them to let their voice be heard. And you're 100% right. They have enough outreach now to where it makes a difference, right? Like we're not a bunch of toxic kids yelling in a server anymore. Like you're looked at as professionals, and I'm glad that they, you know, stood up for what they believed in that situation. Like it was good to see them join in on what was taking place, right? And not be a spectator, because it would have felt a little weird had there not been anything brought up, right? They just moved on as if everything in the world is normal when you see this stuff happening.
Well, and I think maybe 5 years ago in esports, you would have had that, right? Yeah. Because you still would have had that mentality of, no, we're gamers. We're separate from normal.
We don't talk politics or life.
Exactly. We're separate from society norms. We do our own thing and, you know, whatever. But I feel like it's kind of we've all matured a little bit. So hats off to you, esports. Thought that was very cool of you. Playoffs start for the Overwatch League September 3rd. So this week, that's kind of your next big thing. If you know, we'll talk about it a little bit. I can't promise we'll do It is so weird. We used to do wall-to-wall coverage of the Overwatch League and the playoffs, like full-on episodes dedicated to the Overwatch League playoffs, and it's just dropped so far on the list of priorities.
Now it's E News, and Tim writes, playoffs start September 3rd.
No storylines.
No, that's it.
Nothing. So you know, I'll watch. Like I said, it's weird because they're ran by the same parent company in Activision Blizzard. CDL though benefited so much, or not benefited, but was affected so little by COVID from a league standpoint.
They took advantage of COVID situation, right? Like they made the best of it.
Overwatch League just made the worst of it. So
Overwatch League during COVID feels dead.
I mean, it's almost just non-existent.
Yeah.
They might as well have and they kind of did with the amount of format changes and everything this year. I have no idea. We complained last year that there was no consistency, so it was difficult for storylines. My God, could you imagine just being an Overwatch podcast trying to talk about this season? If you run just an Overwatch, and this is why I never just did a blank podcast, right? Because people are like, you should only do Counter-Strike. You should only do Overwatch or do separate podcasts. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I love everything. But I would be blowing my brains out right now if I did an Overwatch podcast and pretended like I cared about this season.
I would have quit.
Like
I would have given you full equity and just walked away at that point.
I would have blown my brains out. It would have been awful.
It would be more exciting to talk Counter-Strike during the player break than Overwatch this season.
But
like,
hey, guys,
Overwatch has really got to figure out, because I don't think this is just a COVID thing. Like the times have changed in the esports landscape, and Overwatch has fallen so far behind. I just really think that they have a lot of work to do to fix the mess that they've created, and I don't know what it is. Like, I really don't know what they do for next season to get people excited.
I think the tournament format, the monthly tournament format,
Is that enough? Is that enough at this point?
I think it's enough to bring some casuals back, right? I think that with the excitement of Overwatch 2, it might be enough, right? Because like I said, I'll watch a Sunday, right? I'll watch a championship. I'll watch a finals. I can make time for that. Like, that's easy. I can follow that. The mess that they did this year, I got nothing. Yeah. I got nothing for you. So, but hey, the playoffs start this week. So there's that. There's that. Man, talk about a week for Envy. You made the finals for PopFlash. You won the Call of Duty League World Championship. And probably the coolest thing of all, Post Malone has been added to ownership to Envy.
It's pretty badass.
That is extremely
Logic
badass.
Is big. Pusha T is big. You know, I know Drake is involved with 100 Thieves, but like really more as a spectator. The whole Post Malone thing, that's huge. That is really freaking cool.
Posty's a gamer. He used to stream on Twitch when he wasn't as big.
He's local.
Me and him used to live in the same city. We went to the same community college. I swear he's probably served me Chicken Express in Grapevine. So he is local. So he has those local ties. He does play Call of Duty. Yes, I have already requested to have him on the show. We'll see. I know he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews, so we'll see. I've actually asked him like multiple times just via Twitter and stuff if he ever wanted to come on. Never heard back, believe it or not. But I just knew he played games.
We are one step closer to potentially making that happen. Look, now at least we have a way to reach out to him other than a random Twitter DM.
I've seen him live a handful of times and everything. I think it's awesome. I think it's going to be great for Envy. I think it makes Envy... No, knock on Envy. I thought you guys were always cool, but I think this makes you look cooler. It makes you look hip with the kids.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. I think it's, all I know is if it were a choice between signing with Envy with Posty or Chaos with Pusha T, I'm going to go with Posty. Like, the Envy just has to be like, hey, Post Malone, can you call this person and pitch them? Like, it's done. It's game over at that point.
It's done at that point.
Like, if Post Malone calls you up, you're signing the paper. It doesn't matter.
And then he'll sing congratulations right there for you.
Yeah. Done. So Envy is going to have, like, world-class talent within, like, a month because Post Malone's going to call everyone. FGC, Street Fighter tournament organizers. Oh, yeah. I almost made this my Yikes of the Week. So in a recent Street Fighter tournament, they were piping in fart noises during the match.
Do you think they meant to be clicking like the audience clapping sound?
Kind of like how I always hit the wrong button.
Stream deck,
Yeah, nothing like having an interview and I hit the laugh button instead of the applause button, which, it happens. It happens. I thought it was funny that they had to apologize. What world do we live in that you have to apologize for playing a fart noise on a broadcast?
It's just, how does that happen?
You're playing a game with like half naked chicks with like fake tits the size of the moon and like a little green guy who shoots lightning out of them. You think your audience base is really offended by fart noises? Like, you think they're like, that's the line they draw in Street Fighter? Like, oh, I can't take
not
this.
Having Gandhi as a playable character. No, don't apologize for that. It's,
right.
It's the fart noises that cross the line.
Yeah, that's where I cannot support Street Fighter anymore. Very odd. Street Fighter, though, and Capcom, also the org that pretty much single-handedly killed the YouPorn esports team because they said they were not going to allow them to be sponsors. But yet again, you have no problem with your half-naked fighting people. So
we probably have videos on YouPorn.
Oh, yes. We all know Any female character in a game is just for a secret underground porn ring. In other news, Fall Guys, excuse me, sells 7 million copies on Steam and is now the most downloaded PlayStation Plus game ever.
You think those devs are doing all right?
I think they're doing fine. In fact, at the Gamescom, they had one of the devs, do like a video, and it looked like he was in like a college dorm room. And I'm
saw
like,
that.
buddy, when that check clears, you gotta upgrade. You gotta upgrade. It looks like you are in a college dorm room. Like, it's time to treat yourself.
I saw that. That's pretty fun. I mean, that crazy success. I mean, that's awesome for those guys.
Well deserved. It's fun.
They created a fun game, right? And that's all you can ask for.
Yep.
Is they created something fun that Tim the Tatman hype probably sold them another 2 or 3 million copies with how much that was buzzing and trending on the internet. So just cool. And
Yep.
now season 2 is releasing for him too. Some more skins and more opportunity to make
More fun. I will also say, shout out Fall Guys people. If you are an esports podcasting platform and or content creation, and you spent 1 second actually debating if the hype of Fall Guys was going to die and what impact that would have on esports, I need you to Alt F4 out of whatever device you're using, throw your computer away, and never return to esports, because you, sir, have no time on have too much time on your hands.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just let it be the game that it is.
And I'm talking to ESPN. I'm going to call them out. ESPN, you have done like 3 different articles about the hype of Fall Guys and its impact. Guys, can we just not have a fun game nowadays? Does every game have to be like overanalyzed to death?
They're trying to make leagues for Fall Guys.
I mean, they really are. Like, can we just not have a fun game? And who cares if it has a tournament here and there? I don't think it's going to be like selling out stadiums anytime soon. It's just a fun game.
That should be like the pre-COD tournament game of have them all in Fall Guys. That's how Fall Guys should be used.
In fact,
fun shit like
just
that.
in the middle of a COD match, replace any Dom map with Fall Guys.
Love
just
it.
Switch it
That
over.
would actually work.
We're not going to play Domination anymore. We're just going to play that map as Fall Guys. Just easy enough.
I would enjoy that more. I'm not even going to lie. That's actually a good idea.
The players might enjoy it more. The players might. TSM ended up making a sort of esports move as they sign chess prodigy, 5-time U.S. champion Hikaru? Is that how you say it?
Sure. Haven't watched chess in quite some time.
That's
cool.
A little rusty on
that's
my
pretty
chess
neat. Like,
knowledge
I'm
here.
sure online chess is like a big thing also. So that's probably the esports side of it. But
Yeah.
I don't think it matters to play that game in person or not. Like, it's a board game in that sense. So
Yep.
it's cool though. Neat signing for sure.
Yeah.
I think the next signing is a little bit more neat if you ask me.
As Bronny Jr., Bronny James, which is LeBron James's kid, for those who don't know, ended up joining FaZe Clan. So they have yet another person that doesn't know how to use Google.
Ben Simmons and now LeBron James's kid. Hey, it's a again, we mentioned this before. We give FaZe Clan a lot of shit, but they're winning. They're winning, and they continue to do so.
It's why it's one of the reasons why we can give them shit, because they have every trump card out there. It doesn't matter at this point.
They're going to sign Donald Trump next. Like, that is the next move for FaZe.
You know what? I don't even know if I'd be upset. So, if I can see Donald Trump with like throwing up the FaZe up with like a necklace, like, they always give people that diamond FaZe necklace. Politics aside, I would have a good time with it. Why not? All right. Well, that does it. That does it for Championship Sunday. I hope everyone had an incredible, exciting, action-packed weekend. Looking forward to a even better week. Positivity month of August is officially done. This is the last show. So expect a very, very negative attitude show. In
100%.
fact, Positivity month I shut on ESPN for making Fall Guys content and trying to take it serious. That was bad of me. Hold on to that thought for Wednesday. Then I'm going to replay that thought. For Positivity Month, positive twist for ESPN doing Fall Guy content is ESPN's got to have some type of content.
More exposure for Fall Guys.
More exposure for Fall Guys. And then their devs can get out of their college dorm. Other than that, we will be back Wednesday night for Thursday's show. Hope you tune in live or catch the recording of it. Who knows what we're talking about? Maybe some Overwatch League playoffs, maybe not. We'll have to figure that out. But we will be live. Follow us on Twitter to know when at the center ring. Join our Discord, be a part of that conversation. But for Nuge, I'm Tim. We'll see ya. Boom. All right. Boom, boom, boom. What an exciting Sunday.
Yeah, it really was.
I wonder when they're going to do the press conference for what's their faces? Empire.
They did a lot of them after. You just had to wait for an hour. It's like an hour after the last thing. They did. I didn't talk about this because I didn't want to keep shitting on them, but like, dear Lord, the MVP announcement was literally an hour after the matches took place.
Hazmat P put in Discord like MVP after the break. I was like, it's been like 45 minutes since I got off.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
what?
like, I paused it and then I went back and fast forwarded through, and they had interviews with like Shotzi. They had an interview with Krim. They had like 2 or 3 different segments in between that were like the top 5 plays of the playoffs, which were nonsense. And then like they had so much crap, and it was just to get sponsorship timing in. If we were at the event, we would have had the big trophy, the MVP trophy 2 minutes later, and you could have gone on your way. But because it's online, it's like they really drag that shit out for a long time.
Which is weird. You think it'd be the opposite. Like, you're online, just you don't have to wait for anything. Like, just get them going. Especially when the matches were delayed already. Like, you couldn't just figure this one out. Oh, God. All right. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, everyone in chat, for stopping by. Be back Wednesday for more esports fun and talk. That's it.
Adios, guys.
Obi, you overslept and we'll log back in and saw the sweep. For you talking CDL? It was a good one. It was a good one.
It's on YouTube. You can go catch that.
I was gonna say the good news is even though you know the results, it was pretty quick. So you can easily go catch the highlights, skip through the talking. Probably take you like 45 minutes to watch the whole thing. Because it was quick. Because again, it was only 4 maps because Dallas had the freebie. So it wasn't even the full on 5 maps or 6 maps, whatever it looks like. So, all right, homie. Gonna end the stream. Thanks for stopping by again. You're the best. Love you.